welcome to the Sheep and Cheerful podcast. My name is Nikki. I am the CEO and host of your podcast journey today. And today we are on episode 4. 4 episodes. That means I have been doing this for 4 weeks. Hey, I've got a degree in economics. I know what's what. This is a podcast about knitting and crochet and spinning and weaving and dogs tap dancing on the floor and arty stuff and other stuff and book reviews. And it's basically my take on my day-to-day attempts to live a very crafty and cheerful life. So I'm so glad you could join me. If you are new to the podcast, if you're dipping your toe into my crazy world for the first time, then a very warm welcome to you. If you are returning to come back for more of the crazy, then welcome back. It's lovely of you to come back. Really warms my heart. And what else? Surreptitiously looking down at my little notebook there. The date is no idea. What is it? It was Star Wars Day on Monday, wasn't it? So 4th, 5th, 6th. It's the 6th of May today, 2020. And it's a beautiful, bright, sunny day. I am coming to you from the south coast of England. And we've got blue skies and sunshine. And every time I say that, years ago, Hannah was in a show. We're quite a musical family. If you watched my vlog for Lent, you will know that. Hannah did a review and they used a song from The Princess and the Frog, I think was the musical. And there was a song, Blue Skies and Sunshine Guaranteed. And whenever I say it's blue skies and sunshine, I want to burst into song. But do not fear, I will not be bursting into song. Not at the moment, anyway. Yeah, so I'll be talking about my crafting this week, a little bit of home news, things going on here. I'm sure the dogs will make an appearance. Henry is, of course, on the settee, just there in my craft room. Honey, as you might have just heard, jumped off the settee and is now below the desk over there. So they're both with me. Family are all home. We are actually now in isolation. We are shielding Gary now, and I will get to that later, what's going on there. But all is well in our little corner of the world. At the end of the crafting section, I will be talking about the book by Ann Patchett called State of Wonder. And that's my chosen book to review this week, if anybody wants to know that in advance. Okay, what else? Yes, you'll find me if you want to follow me on Instagram. I am Clara Peggotty on Instagram. I am Clara Peggotty on Ravelry. And that's pretty much it. I think I have a pattern on Ravelry, which is free for some fingerless mitts, which you are welcome to go and download if you so wish. If you don't like it, you don't have to download it. So I think that's all that sort of nonsense. What am I wearing today? Of course, those of you who've been following will know what this is. She slickly wheels back. This is the, excuse me, the Rosa cardigan. So very simple cropped cardigan, lovely detail. This is quite popular at the moment, isn't it? This raglan detail. I finished this several weeks ago and I thought I'd give it a bit of a roll out today. It's lovely. It's really warm outside, a little bit cooler inside. So I've got this on. This was knit from, if you remember, it's from Kettle Yarn Company's Islington DK. And in her pirouette colourway. The pattern is the Rosa cardigan by Anna Devoe, who is Along Avec Anna on Ravelry and Instagram. And there you are. And I must just show you. Can I come there? Can you see? Can you see the earrings? my little pom-pom earrings. Well, these are actually, I hadn't planned to do this, as you can see, camera magnet, always. That was Hannah, by the way, who's just got out of bed and is making a cup of tea, but I've got one. Yeah, the earrings. So look, little pom-pom earrings with Swarovski crystals there. And what's even better, and I've not, oh, you didn't need to see my fingernails then, did you? They are, in fact, they come off the earring and they're stitch markers. Look at that. Is that focused? I don't know. Anyway, I don't use them as stitch markers. I use them as earrings. But they cheer me up. They make me smile when I wear these. And those of you who know me know that I'm friends with Soraya, who is Malika jewellery, knitted jewellery. I'll look it up. Anyway, M-A-H-L-I-Q. Oh, Malika. Soraya, are you Q-U-A? Anyway, I'll put it across the bottom of the screen. They're my little earrings. Anyway, and I just thought I'd wear them. You can see them bobbling around. Okay, totally thrown off track now. So, yeah, a quick sip. First things first. Shall we go into some knitting and stuff, and then we can do general chat later on. That way, those people who don't want to know all the ins and outs of life here can then just watch the knitting stuff and then disappear, which is fine. Free world, isn't it? Well, apart from obviously if you're in lockdown and it's not. Right, focus. I have a finished object. Do you remember last week I had just cast on the auspice shawl by, not the hospice shawl as a friend of mine thought I said, the auspice shawl by Lisa Much, and I don't have a salute. I have a page, one of the, there you go. So it was that one. I wanted a fairly simple one skein pattern to knit. I was feeling the need to have a break from sweater knitting because I've been doing a lot of sweaters lately, and I also wanted to gift knit. I wanted to make something in advance for a friend of mine whose birthday is in August, and I've been promising to make her a shawly scarfy thing since last year. So I found the auspice pattern by Lisa Much on Ravelry. I decided to use a skein of West Green Loft yarns, and another friend of mine, Vicky, and this is her West Green Loft yarns classic sock, and the colourway is Ann with an E, based on, that was Henry, based on the Ann with an E series on Netflix, because I know Vicky was a fan of that. Look how much I've got left. Now this is a bit of an issue for me, but anyway, that's the colourway. Really pretty and subtle. So the finished object, true podcaster fashion, the ends aren't sewn in, but ta-da! Oh, hang on, she drops it. So we've got, so she classes this as a shawlette. Got these swirls of lace, yarn overs and short rows basically into there. So again, it's quite a long, you block it to 72 inches. I was concerned that it was actually a little bit too short, but I think the friend I'm making it for is she wouldn't wear a huge great shawl, the sort that, you know, as knitters we all are knitting at the moment, the kind of the huge great birds of a feather type shawls. But this, do you know what, I think that's perfect. I think that length is lovely, or however you might wear it. So yeah, let's just bring, you can see There's obviously not a wrong side or a right side. It's garter stitch. And you can see, yeah, this is, so you cast on this end, and then this is where the short rows start. And you can see here you do one set of yarn overs, here you do 2 rows, here you do 3 rows, and so on. But I think that's really, really lovely actually. Now it's all blocked out beautifully. And as you say, it was a quick knit. I cast on last Thursday, and it was off the needles Sunday night. To be fair, to be honest, I put a lot of work in. I've been sitting with Gary a lot whilst he's been poorly, so I've had that as some knitting. And it smells, just quickly, it smells so lovely. I have a precious bar of Tuft Woolens wool sock soap, and this is in the Night Sky colourway. No, it's in the soap colourway. It's in the Night Sky flavour, scent, whatever you want to call it. And what I've started doing with this, because there's this whole thing, isn't there? If you use a soap bar, then it just sort of disintegrates on the side and gets manky and slimy and it's horrible. So what I do now, and I think I saw this suggested on the podcast years ago, before I even knew about hard soap for washing woolens. I grate some soap into the bowl. So as the water's running, I'll grate, you know, a bit of that off. That then dissolves a lot easier. The bar doesn't get wet, and I have the lovely wool wash, basically. Winner chicken dinner. Unless you're vegetarian or vegan, so it's winner tofu dinner. Apologies, I'd like to be all inclusive. So yeah, auspice shawl, Lisa Much, 1 skein, and yeah, look how much is left. Which is why I was initially a bit worried that it was going to be too small, but actually, looking at that, I think that's the perfect size. So I reckon, I haven't weighed, oh, we could do this on, should we do it on camera? Live action. I'm going to weigh this. 36 grams left. So, excuse me, you could get a pair of shorty socks, I reckon, out of that. I only use, for normal socks, I only use 50 grams. So I reckon I could get a pair of shorty socks out of that. I might even knit a pair for my friend who's getting the shawl. She can have matching shawls and socks. Socks. Bit my lip then, sorry. Anyway, yes. So, first finished object. Super happy with that. Second finished object, I have 2. But this one is a woven project. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen this. But whilst during Lent and kind of during lockdown, really, I'm thinking about making stuff as gifts for people. You would remember in Lent, I made a whole series of things. Last week, I showed you the tea towels that I had woven. And this week, my plan was, oh, again, with the forgetting where stuff is. Never mind, no matter. I wanted to make a project bag for my friend Millie, who owns and runs Tribe Yarns in Richmond, and that's where I go to teach weaving and spinning. And what I had in mind, because I'm all about texture and experimentation with my weaving particularly, I wanted to try and make a project bag that was a tribe project bag. So I had one of her tote bags, or the cloth bags that she sends out with her yarn. I've got several actually. And I decided to have a go at weaving with that. And I then sewed it into a project bag. So here it is. Ta-da! So can you see, I don't know how well, there you go, if I put it really close, what I need to do, it's not showing up brilliantly well, but really close, you can see it's a hair and then there's a face there. So I cut the strips from the bag and wove them. I used, for the warp on this particular piece of cloth, I used unique fingering weight yarn, which is a Turkish yarn, which Millie sells actually. And I did a project bag. Oh, I did, again, it's over there. Always at the wrong place, aren't I? Sorry. It's basically, well, you can see the fringe there. So that's, it's not quite self-striping, but it's, oh, there's a long bit there. Leave that. And then I used a chunky red singles to go there and some orange. So I've done it all in red and orange. And then on the bottom, the box bottom, we've got some mustard. This is all from Stash. And then the back, I did the same thing. Now you definitely won't see this, but basically that's got the word tribe in it. It's just not showing up. It doesn't show up brilliantly well anyway, that one. The front really does, but that doesn't. And then I just put a little bit of clasp weft weaving there for texture. As I say, what I did, I put a fringe on the sides, which is part of the weft. Is it part of the weft? How could that be part of the weft if the weft is running down? No, I didn't. I'm telling a lie. What I did was when I cut the warp, when I trimmed off the excess of the warp, I then just stitched it into the sides when I put the bag together. That's what I did. Suddenly thought that sounded really, that wasn't right. Anyway, and then I just put a zip in there. Just got to finish that corner, so don't look at that. And then I just used a plain sort of calico type of lining there. And it's quite a size, it's quite a big one. And I'm really super pleased with that. I'm going to send it to Millie. Hopefully she will love it. If she doesn't really matter. I made it with her in mind. Well, for her. I've now just caught a bit of... It's going to be one of those days today, isn't it? Got a bit of yarn in there, but I'm going to undo that in a moment. Anyway, where it is? There it is. Tribe Yarns project bag. So yeah, I wove the cloth and then I stitched the project bag together, which again isn't my most favourite of things to do, but I wanted a project bag for her, so that's that. Right, they're my two finished objects. Actually, there is one more thing, if you can count it. Do you remember I was spinning as well last week? I dusted off the old wheel, my e-spinner, which is actually sitting here. If you could see this desk, it's like it's a palm site. I've actually got all this fibre here that I've just started spinning again. I had started spinning some yarn from Felt Fusion UK. No, I hadn't, that's a lie. From Felt Studio. Felt Fusion is another yarn seller on Etsy. This was from Felt Studio UK. I do remember I said I felt she'd mislabeled it because the fibre content on the back of this card was different to the fibre content she'd written on the outside of the bag. And I felt that this was the incorrect one and it was the outside of the bag one. That's right. Anyway, I spun it. I came, I did a little spinning. I have yarn. Look at that. So it's greys and pinks, and you might be able to tell there's linen in there. So the blend is actually, as far as I'm concerned, viscose, linen, bamboo and faux cashmere. I think the grey was the faux cashmere of that. So there's a few lumpy bits which I absolutely love, all about the texture. And for this, I was aiming for a worsted weight, and I got a worsted weight, which is quite miraculous. And I got, this is 100 grams, and I got 191 yards. So yeah, really, really pleased. And I also soaked this in the Tuft wool wash as well, so it smells divine. So I have thoughts about what I want to do with my hand spun. Possibly a jumper, possibly a shawl, but I have some more I want to spin up, and then I might use them. You know, there's the thing with spin cycle yarns at the moment where they gradiate through, and you use them a single skein underneath as part of the colour work of a sweater pattern. There's so many of those around, and lots of them are worsted weight, so that's why I'm aiming for worsted weight mostly, is so that I can then maybe use and do my own gradiated colour through as the colour work on a sweater. So yeah, I think there is one particular sweater I've got in mind, but I'm not going to spill the beans on that at the moment. Right, so that's all my finished objects for this week. I think that's pretty good. We'll move on to works in progress. I haven't done an awful lot on my Paloma sweater, mostly because, like I say, I just wanted to break from sweater knitting. So I put that to one side and worked on the shawl mostly, and some socks and a few other bits. I've also still got cast-on-itis, so who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. But let me just double check that I am going to, what I should have said as well with this, with my spinning, for those who are interested, I use a short forward draw when I spin. That's what I sort of naturally fall into doing. And this is a 2-ply, just a straightforward 2-ply worsted weight yarn, spun on my Ashford e-spinner. So there's those details. Right. When I showed you last time, do you remember I showed you my little project bag that I put the Write On thing on the back? For someone who doesn't like sewing project bags, I seem to do an awful lot of it. I put some work into my dad's Christmas socks. I said the C word, didn't I? I should have put a warning up there, talking about Christmas. So there we go. So this is just a vanilla sock. That's actually there, you can see better. The window's over there, so I'll try and get the light. This is, I suspect hundreds of you have knit this. Hundreds of you. How many watch the podcast? I haven't got the label, but I know it's Bergère de France. It's their Gumi sock weight yarn in that. And I haven't got the label, so I can't tell you the colourway, but it's pretty distinctive. There's a group of these, and that's coming out really nicely. It's quite a toothy yarn, but it will be really good for socks. You just feel like it's probably equivalent to maybe a Regia or an Opal sock yarn. It's not your merino nylon from Indie Dyers, but it's a good tough old sock, and I think it's really pretty colours. So what did I do? I did something yesterday. I was on a Skype knit night meetup with my friends Penny and Irina, and I thought, easy, don't have to look at it while I'm knitting it. So that's all that is really. That's just going to be there to grab when I know that I'm either going to be short of time, or you know, I'm doing something else and can't focus. I just need some plain vanilla knitting. So that will hopefully just grow gradually. And I've got May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 8 months. If I didn't get those done by December, you can shoot me. Right, so that's those. Next, also last week, you'll remember, I cast on the Soul Sister socks by Amy Loudon and Jules Hill. My lovely friends Amy and Jules. Amy is Tayloress Studio on Instagram. Jules, of course, is So Sweet Violet. And I cast on the Soul Sister socks there, which you can't see at all. Anyway, I'm sure you all know. And if you remember my particular challenge, because as I've said to you, I like to push myself a little bit, keep the brain cells working. I wanted to try knitting them 2 at a time, because my own experience of knitting 2 at a time socks in the past has not been a happy one. Didn't enjoy it at all. Got big ladders down the socks where I was crossing over, and it was all a bit rubbish. So I started 2 at a time and it's worked and I'm happy. Look what I've done. Oops. Now, okay, I didn't think about this. Didn't think this through, did I? There we go. Right. There you go. Again, on that side. So my little rubber ducky stitch marker, that's where I was last week. Sorry, my progress keeper. Look at that. I adore that. That's from Rachel So Raimi on Etsy and Instagram and YouTube and everywhere. So that's just one of them. And this is the tweed sock yarn from Lottie Knits. I think if you remember, it's the, I don't know what happens to my yarn labels. It's her tweed sock anyway, a Donegal tweed. And you can see the pattern there. And this was the Life in the Long Grass, the beanie toe, Jules design. And oh, actually, if you look at the back, you get to see an idea of the colour better. It's almost a bit of striping going on there. I think my gauge must be conducive to bringing out some striping. Really pleased with those. The cable I'm using Chalgu twists, mini twists. Really like. I've just ordered another set actually from Millie because my cable is too long. I didn't want to be too short and struggling, but this is a ridiculous length cable and it's so fine that it's just getting in the way everywhere. So I've ordered a shorter cable and I think my next pair will be 2 at a time. Obviously, relatively speaking, it looks like it's going slower. But actually, when you think there's 2 socks, you know, they're going to be finished together. You know what I mean? I'm not struggling. And the cable is fantastic. It's so flexible. So there's no problem with laddering. It's usually when you come around the back and you're knitting across the back, I found that I was getting a ladder. But now it's easy peasy lemon squeezy, basically. So yeah. Super happy with those. Love the pattern. I have memorized the pattern now. Oh, that's the yarn in the cake. How pretty is that? It's so pretty. Yeah, I'm annoyed about where the tag is. It's probably under the pile of stuff on my other desk somewhere. Yeah, I've memorized the pattern, the lace pattern and the repeat, so I can pretty much just sit and knit on those. I could knit on those if I'm chatting, or yeah, I could probably knit on them while I'm watching telly. And that's in one of my project bags. So that's a Hugs from Clara project bag, made hand woven from Shetland yarn. Yeah, when I do my woven project bags, normally I also put a quirky lining in, so there's a lining in there, and then my favorite pins, and I put those 2 buttons on anyway, and then I just added some other pins, things. That's that Arc de Triomphe. It's sparkly. I don't know if you see that there. I bought that when I went to Paris with Hannah and my mum and dad a few years ago. I didn't do heights. I hate heights, but Hannah and I walked to the very top of the Arc de Triomphe and stood on the top looking out over Paris, which was spectacular. I even went a little bit closer to the edge, not too close. I didn't want to look down. But I bought myself that as a reward and a reminder that I had climbed up to the top of that. That Heineken, no, it's not Heineken, heaven forbid, Carlsberg, was the pin I got when Gary and I went to Copenhagen a couple of years ago, also with my mum and dad. So yeah, a little bit of travel memories on there. So yeah, that's my bag. That's probably my favourite project bag that I've made for myself, apart from my huge big one, which I'll perhaps show you another time. Love that. So Soul Sister socks, they're done. Next up, now this is one I don't think you've seen, unless you watched my, was it my November vlog? No, it would have been my Lent vlog when I did a confession of all my whips that I'd cast on at the beginning of December. I had I think it was 3 pairs of socks and a pair of mittens. And I was trying to work through, and 2 of the socks are now done. Another pair is the cocoon socks are still, they're actually there, waiting to be worked on. And then there were my cup of tea mitts, which I cast on, which is a free pattern. I think it's a free pattern. I'm pretty sure it's a free pattern. How many times can I say free pattern? I'm sure it's a free pattern. By Fluffy Fibres. So that's the pattern, can you see? And that's the name. I will, I'll check, and if it's not free, I'll tell you it's not free. My friend Penny, who's my knit night friend Penny, knocks these out as gifts for people, and I love them. I really love them. So, excuse me, just before Christmas, so before Hannah and I went to New York in December, don't we sound well travelled today? We don't do big family holidays. We never have done really. So when we can, every few years, 1 or 2 of us dip off for a short city break, which for various reasons I find much more manageable. We have the dogs to think about, so we don't go en famille. We go either Gary and I, or Hannah and I, or Gary and Hannah. Joe doesn't particularly like travelling, so it's usually a combination of Gary, myself and Hannah, and usually take my mum and dad along for a ride. So that's that little digression. I'm knitting these out of a skein of yarn I got at a Socks on the Beach yarn swap, actually. So this is Martin's Lab, there, who I think I'm right in saying is the other half of Justina Lukowska. Lukowska? I think that's who it is. I know there's the designer as well. This is a bouncy merino, 100% superwash merino in the fairy dust colourway. And see, I probably would never have bought this if I'd have seen it, but I absolutely love it. So it's kind of a, I wouldn't say dirty white, that sounds rude, doesn't it? But it's sort of a very, very pale grey with neon speckles, which is really lovely. And I have 1 3/4 of a finished object, so I can actually model the first one for you. Ta-da! There you go. Not thought that through either, have I? I think I did this last time. It's a nice long cuff and plain on the front. I haven't put the thumb in, so that's mitt number 1. And now mitt number 2 is at that. So there, so you can see these lovely, really effective swirls, but look at that yarn. I just adore it. And in a way, I'm so glad I didn't make this into socks, because it's not going to be, you can see it better on mitts, can't you? Just love it. So I think these might go in the gift box. I haven't normally had a gift box. I've never started knitting this early for Christmas. So I absolutely love them though. That's better there, isn't it? It's lighter. I did an extra long cuff here so that if I want to turn it down, if I've got cold fingers, I can roll it up. If I'm doing stuff, I can turn it over. That wasn't part of the pattern. That was just my thing. So yeah, my cup of tea mitts. I should have said Fluffy Fibres is Robin Lynn. Anyway, I'll put the details on the screen for you there. So that's hopefully, I reckon possibly next week, that will have been promoted to my finished objects section. So yeah, really, I've just suddenly, for some reason, I just wanted to finish them, pick them up. They were car park knitting the other day. That's my Harry Potter bag. The lady who made this doesn't make bags anymore, which is a shame because I love that. Yeah, I had that hospital knitting again the other day. So I've been moving on with those. Okay, one more work in progress. How are we doing? Oh, not too bad, 36 minutes. Okay, in my little bobbins project bag, Danny made that. She sent that to me as a gift because I made her a blanket. It's really sweet. Okay, no pattern in here because why would there be a pattern? Because the pattern's here. This is the Book People shawl, which is another, oh my goodness, long-standing whip. It's even longer than long-standing because I was working on it. I had it on the needles for, ages. Can't really see it very well on the sweater. And I love it, but I kept making really stupid mistakes with the lace pattern. So I kept putting it away, and then, you know, you can fudge so much, but then, you know, when your edge starts to look really wonky because you're not increasing in the right place, then it's like, nah, mate, nah, time to say goodbye to that. So I pulled it out, but I was so determined because I so like this pattern, I really wanted to knit it. So again, back in December, I was given another skein of yarn as a present from a friend, which I'll tell you about in a moment. And I decided that I would give Book People number 2 a go. Well, Book People shawl, my attempt number 2. Anyway, that's the shawl. And it's by Sylvia McFadden, who is Soft Sweater on Ravelry and on Instagram. There's a lovely picture at the back. If I can find you, again, it will be in black and white because I print my patterns in black and white. Oh, you can't. It's underneath the actual pattern details. That's a slightly better one. So again, it's rows of lace, progressive sort of holy bits, I'm technical, with garter stitch rows in between. And again, it's a 1 skein shawl, but it is bigger than the shawlette that I just showed you. So the yarn I'm using is Dandelion and Dogwood yarn. My lovely friend Amy Loudon, again, who is Taylor S Studios, but she's also one half of Dandelion and Dogwood yarn with her sister Jen. So this is very similar. If you look, obviously got a theme going on here. This is on a sparkle base though, and I'd say it's more saturated. There's less cream in this one than there is in the Anne with an E colourway. And this is her pumpkin spice latte colourway. And it really is that. It's beautiful. It's gold stellina I opted for. And so I cast on the shawl. And again, this week I picked it up and put a few rows on it. So that's where I'm at. So down. Again, I'll try and do it that way. If I angle the camera that way, the screen will just go really dark because of the light from outside. So I think this is okay. There. So you've got these holy lace sections and then the garter rows, and it just gets wider and wider and wider. So the rows take longer and longer and longer. That's fine. But there you go. You can see that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Really love that. It's a beautiful yarn. And the dyeing is just lovely. So yeah, I started that. Oh, do you remember last week I wanted to cast on all the shawls? Well, I still do. But I felt I couldn't cast on another single skein shawl whilst I had this sitting there, not being worked on. So that's why I picked that one up. I did buy and print off the new Hohi shawl pattern, the 1 skein shawl pattern, which I think I've got here actually. The Venezia shawl, which looks absolutely gorgeous. So I think I will knit that next. That will be my next 1 skein shawl project, shawlette. but I need to get book people done first. So that's going to be worked on this week. Wow, gosh. Let me just put that away. So those are my knitting works in progress that I'm sharing with you this week. There's some spinning in progress. I have got some fibre from the Shepherd's Hut, and I bought two. I've got the bulk of it here. I've split this off. That's the tag. The Shepherd's Hut, and this is Polworth. So I bought two different 100 grams of Polworth. So there was that colourway and that one. You can see the theme going on here. A pinky. This is called Pear Drops, which is a perfect name for it. Not so much now, I've split it all, but it is perfect. And this one is called Pastel Kiss, which is lovely. So I've got Pear Drops on the wheel at the moment. That's sitting down here to my right. So that's my spinning. Very happy with that bit of spinning. Let's just check. I've talked to you about that, and that. Yeah, so with my Soul Sister socks, you know, I wanted to do a new challenge to me, which was the knitting 2 at a time. Well, I think I found my next challenge. Whether it's going to be this week or not depends how brave and how well I get on with my other projects. I do seem to be doing more and more crafting of different things as the days go on. It's just a bit bonkers, really. That's why this room is such a state. But when I was looking at, I'm not quite sure how I came across it, and I wish I had a better picture. If you go to the Ravelry page and look at this, then it'll give you a better idea. I came across the Grey Gardens headband by Rachel Price and Kate Burge, who are, of course, the sisters behind Spin Cycle Yarns. And they knit, or they made a pattern. I don't know what date this came out, to be honest. Doesn't tell me. Again, 2013, 7 years ago this came out, and it's a really bad picture to show you, but they made a design, this headband, and it's a free pattern from Knitty. So if you find it on Ravelry, then it directs you to Knitty and you can print the pattern off for free. But you'll see, those eagle-eyed amongst you will see it's entrelac design. I have never knit entrelac design, never had the urge to knit entrelac design, but I do like that headband. If I could rock it half as good as Rachel does there, then I'd be happy. I'd be happy. I often wear my hair up like that. I mean, you can see it's up now. So I thought, oh, I could give that a try. It's Aran Weight yarn. I have some Aran Weight hand spun, but I also have some, do you know what? I've got some Aran Weight Down Sheepy Lane yarn that I made Hannah's Andrea Mary sweater in, Nurtured sweater, which I think, yeah, it's here. I'm going to knock all these off. So I've got that, and I think I could probably get away with it. So I'm thinking I might tackle this as a little mini project. And I don't reckon it would take that long. Would it take that long? Have a look at the Ravelry page of that and look how good it looks, especially in the yarns, the colourways they use. So that might be my challenge this week. Obviously still knitting on my 2 at a time socks. But if I get twitchy fingers and want to try something, Grey Gardens, that's called, might give that a go. I knit a kind of a scarf come headband, so a triangular thing called Babchia's Scarf, was it? By Melissa Miski Knits. I don't know, she's MSKI Knits on Instagram, and she had a yarn pattern business for a while, and they produced beautiful ebooks. Anyway, I knit that and I love it, but I don't know where it is. I don't know what I've done with it. It's like careless like that. So that was going to be possibly my challenge for this week. Okay, other news, other crafts now. I'm just going to have a short break and I will be right back. Right, little quick break there. Cup of tea and a biscuit. Okay, the other thing I've picked up this week after a long time in hibernation has been my cross stitch. Oh my goodness. You name it, I will do it. Sorry. Shouldn't have the biscuit in my mouth. That's a little bit unprofessional, isn't it? Sorry about that. Yeah, a couple of years ago, I watched a new podcast, which I don't think she's still podcasting, Liz. She had the Just One N podcast because her surname was Zimmerman, Elizabeth Zimmerman. So, but hers was spelt with one N and not two. And she was doing a cross stitch by Clouds Factory called Fabulous Women in History. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I think it was done as a stitch along originally. And I didn't get involved in that, but I did source the pattern. You can buy the pattern separately as a download from Clouds Factory, sorry, which is, actually I can show you. So that's who they are. And I think they're cloudsfactory.net on interweb. Yes, it is, just checking. And I don't have a colour picture to show you because the only picture I had of it was on my phone. And I'm using my phone to record this, so I can't show you. But if you want to look it up, can you, I don't know if you can see that. So basically, oh, where shall I go? There. No, you can't see it. That's ridiculous, isn't it? There you go. How about that? Is that any better? The point is that these are all characters of women through history. And it says, women are the real architects of society. Yes. And I loved it. And I thought at the time it would be a lovely gift to make for Hannah when she leaves home. Not that that's going to happen anytime soon. She's way too comfortable here. But that's good because it gives me plenty of time to work on it. And I did have a plan of doing, one figure every couple of weeks so that then I could get it done in the year. Well, that obviously didn't happen and it went away, but I got it out again. So I had done 2, 3, nearly finished 4. Way to go me, eh? Before I put it away. And so at the weekend I worked on the 5th, but the ones I've done, you have to forgive me, I'm not taking it off the hoop because I'm right near the edge of the fabric and it's really awkward, so I'm going to leave it on the hoop. So I had done Eleanor Roosevelt, and they will have, yeah, you can see under there, the little banner will have their names embroidered in, but I'll probably do that at the end. So that's Eleanor Roosevelt. This, of course, is Amelia Earhart. In a little plane, look at that. I think these characters, I just love the artwork of this. I love how they've been drawn. Then over the other side, for some reason there's a bit left over on that one. We've got Frida Kahlo painting a picture. She's even got, I don't think I put it in yet, she will have a little brush in her hand. Look, she's got her flowers in her hair, she's got a long white dress on. And then next to her is, now, I think it's Rosa, but it's Levi Montalcini. But I think that's Rosa, and I think she obviously was a scientist. I need to look it up again. I can't remember. I did look it up, but I hadn't heard of her. So apologies to Ms. Levi Montalcini. So she's there with her microscope, and this is like a cloud of atoms, but in a heart shape, I think. And then at the weekend, I started with, she's headless. Oh, look at that. This is a headless Rosa Parks. So she's sitting there. There's going to be, this bit is part of a bus that's going to be there. But I did her because you can see how close I'd got to the edge of the fabric. And I wanted to make sure I could fit it in. I had planned it. I had counted everything out. But as I was doing these, I was getting closer and closer. And I'm thinking, oh, please don't run out. But this is as far across as we go. So I will give Rosa her head, possibly this afternoon. I'm so sorry about that. Look at that. And her legs. She's obviously missing her legs. And then put the bus in. And then that's those 5 figures. And then you can see how big it's going to be. I also love this backing. You can't see it. It's sparkly. Lilac and white sparkly Ada. It's Ada cotton, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Back in the day when I used to cross stitch, I used to do it just as a, you know, I was never a cross stitcher. I just did 1 or 2 when I was younger. Excuse me. It used to be, you know, cream Ada cotton and very straightforward. And I did a Labrador's head. We used to have Labradors when I was younger. And I did a butterfly garden for my mum and dad. She still got that actually, mum, above their bed. But it was very, you know, traditional. Whereas things like this is just so awesome and creased. How creased is that? But that whole cloth is going to be covered with fabulous women from history. So we've got, to give you an idea, obviously I can't show you the chart because it's a paid for pattern. We've got Eva Peron, Marilyn Monroe, Anne Frank, Rosie the Riveter, which I'm thinking was a United States wartime icon, I think. We've got, yeah, some names I can't pronounce without checking who they are because I don't want to cause offence. Done Amelia Earhart, or Earhart, however you like to say it. Jane Austen, Sacagawea, Queen Victoria, Joan of Arc, of course, Elizabeth I, Cleopatra. So the girls are there. They are all there. And I really want to do this. I really want to finish it. So I might even go sit in the garden this afternoon. It's absolutely glorious out there. So might treat myself to that. Have a little break. I did get some serious hand and elbow pain last week as well because I'd been knitting so much. So I was trying to find different things, partly why I started spinning and doing, mind you, weaving kills the elbows. I don't know, the life of a crafter, eh? What can you do? The other thing I've started doing, fear not, I'm not going to show it to you. No, I'm not. Is I'm dipping my toe into the world of journaling, but particularly, specifically Bible journaling. I have found, thanks to a few friends who pointed me in the way, in particular Sherry, Ollie and Bella, Sherry. I've come across some fantastic Bible journaling Instagram accounts and things, and so I've decided I'm going to give that a crack. I'm also going to transfer what I learned there and start up a form of knitting journaling, and I've got some what I think are good ideas. So if I get that started, I will share that with you next week. But over this side of my desk now, I've cleared away a lot of my weaving stuff because I've done with weaving just for the, you know, for the next couple of days. And I've got paints and stickers and all sorts of those crafts there. So I'm quite excited about that. I am very excited about that actually. So yeah, I just seem to be wanting to do all the things. Okay, that's that. So a little bit of, I'm going to sit back. Little bit of catch up now, bit of family news and stuff for those of you who are interested. Gary has finally, a very difficult week last week. He was very, very poorly actually. And he's finally had a diagnosis, which is really good. The diagnosis isn't good, but it's really good that we've had the diagnosis. We're very positive about it. It's a serious condition, but it is treatable and it is manageable. It's in case anybody's thinking immediately that it's a cancer, it's not. It's a very rare condition, actually, a form of vasculitis, and it means he will be on treatment for the rest of his life, but it will be treatable, and he should, within, a reasonable amount of time, get back to life pretty much as normal. Depending on the whole COVID situation, he is going to be taking a high dose of steroids and immunosuppressants, which means obviously in the current climate he won't be able to go out anywhere, which is why we're shielding now. None of us are going to be going out, which is fine. We're we're blessed with a large house and a big garden, so we can avoid each other. We're quite good at that. Those of you who've got grown-up kids still living at home, Joe is home. He's kind of self-isolating for 7 days anyway, so he's just keeping clear of us for the next week or so, just to make sure he didn't bring any bugs back with him. But Gary only started the steroids yesterday anyway, but already they're making an amazing difference. So for a man who could barely walk and was having trouble breathing, he's back in the other room doing a bit of work this morning. So, praise God for that, is what I say. Prayers have been answered. Thank you for all your well wishes, and hopefully now we can move forward. And he's also quite tickled that he's a very rare case. Typically, we have this ongoing thing. He did an MBA. He never went to university, didn't get A-levels or anything like that. But probably about 20 years ago now, he did an MBA with the Open University, and he passed and everything. And then a couple of years after that, I then went to university when the kids were very young, and they were at school. They were at prep school, so nursery, sorry, and they were doing long hours there. I was able to go to university, commute obviously, and I got my degree. But he loves to keep telling me that his degree is better than my degree. This is what we have at home. We say that his degree is an internet degree, and that mine was a proper degree because I went to a university. Now we are simply winding him up. Open University are totally kosher degrees. They are totally brilliant degrees. I have some Open University qualifications, so but we just like to wind each other up, basically. So he likes to say, well, I've got a better degree than you, because he wants me to do a master's, basically. And he keeps goading me and saying that he's got a master's and I don't have a master's. Now he's saying that, I don't know if you know, a couple of years ago I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. He's now saying that he's got a worse condition than me. What is the matter with us? What is the matter with this family? Honestly, he says he's rarer than I am. So I said I'll kick him in the shins. Sorry, calm down. Anyway, there you go. Married 27 years. What can you do? So anyway, yeah, he is. We are. It's been hard. I'll not lie. It's been difficult. But we've got a great consultant who has identified this disease, and we are very optimistic that he's going to be up and about again, albeit shielding for at least 12 weeks until the COVID issue at least calms down a little bit anyway. So that's Gary. As I say, Joe is home. It's great. We've had a big swap around of rooms and so on and so forth, and got that done. And now we're back to being a family of 4 at home with the 2 dogs. Henry is still a little bit poorly. Our poor old boy, got hearing problems. I have to get another sample from him and take it to the vets. But with all that's been going on with my eldest boy, Gary, Henry's kind of just having to wait a little bit. But I think the next couple of days we'll get him sorted as well. He's perfectly happy. The vets just wanted a follow-up sample to check, and I just haven't done it yet. What else? That's probably about it. I'm hoping to go and sit in the garden this afternoon, which will be lovely. I think I could do with getting some vitamin D. I am doing a lot of foodie stuff this week. I'm hopefully getting my mojo back for food now that Gary's back, and possibly, you know, he's not been eating, so it's all been a bit difficult there as well. So yeah, let's say we're all pretty positive. That's probably all I've got to share with you. I think that's probably long enough. I reckon I've gone on for about an hour. I will be doing the book review next. I will have to go and get the book because, in true to form, I left it upstairs. And I will be chatting, as I said at the beginning, about Ann Patchett's book, State of Wonder, and how I came across Ann Patchett, actually. So I'll be talking about that next. If you are only here for the knitting and the crafting, then obviously thank you for joining us. And I will see you again next Thursday. I think I mentioned to somebody in one of the comments last time, I am hoping to be able to podcast every week. It's good, it keeps me on my toes, provided I've got enough to show you and to talk about, which at the moment appears to be okay. There's no problem, no shortage of crafting going on here. So yeah, have a good week, those of you who are going to switch off now, and I will see you all again next week. Now, I'm going to head to the sofa, do my Jackanory bit and have a chat about books. Okay, I'm in my Jackanory corner now. I hope it's not, oh look, I still haven't cleaned the windows. Okay. There. Oh, I can't do it backwards. There you go. That's a lovely cushion that Penny made me, which I have on this settee, which is lovely. I've got a Henry down here next to me. He might come up and make an appearance, and you can see there's a little honey bear there. Oh, she's dropped her bone. No, you leave it there though, because we don't want you chewing. So yes, book review time. Okay, so this week's book I'm going to review is it's a novel, and it's that one, State of Wonder by Ann Patchett. Now again, Ann Patchett is not a new author, but she's a relatively new to me author, or recently new to me author. Probably last year I read this book, and oh my goodness, was I sold on it. Now, a little bit of background, just interestingly. What? You're gonna come here then? Come here. No, you don't. He's pawing me at the moment. I listened to, a few years ago, probably 2 years maybe, I downloaded and listened to Eat, Pray, Love by Liz Gilbert. And I'd seen the film, the Julia Roberts movie, quite a few years back. Didn't enjoy it. I found it really boring and not interesting at all. I read the book there, or I listened to the book. It was actually narrated by the author herself, Elizabeth Gilbert, and I absolutely loved it. I really, really loved it so much more. I mean, I haven't gone back to watch the film because I know the film, I can't see, well, I can understand now how the film just couldn't tick all the boxes that the book does. Anyhow, this isn't a review of that. I then went on to listen to Big Magic, which is another book about creativity by Elizabeth Gilbert. And on that, she tells a story about a fellow author and about a plot of a story that they turned out they both realised they had at the same time. And it's quite an involved story. No intention of talking about that. But that other author was Ann Patchett. And she raved about her, basically. Liz Gilbert raved about her and said what an amazing author she was. So when I went to the bookshop last year sometime, I happened across the Ann Patchett section, and I bought State of Wonder. And this was actually the book that had been, they'd both had inspiration to write, and a very similar story, but Liz Gilbert didn't write it in the end and Ann Patchett did. I mean, it's different as well, don't get me wrong, but it was a similar principle. And I bought this and I couldn't put it down. I absolutely loved it. So, American author Ann Patchett. This was shortlisted for the Orange Prize 2012. So that's about when it was published. And what have we got here? There's a quote, a review on the back by Joanna Trollope, the author, who says, "Every so often I read something that makes me want to press it fervently and evangelically onto everyone I meet. I loved this." And that's kind of how I feel. I want everybody to read this. Although I say that about all my books. And again, this is different. This is much more, okay, you know, we've talked about the quirky books that I love, I absolutely love. But this is actually a modern fiction book that I also love. And there's very few, relatively speaking, modern books that I think are really, really good. So if I tell you, if I read you, shall I read you the back? Is that the best way for you to, and then I can, it's basically, it's set South America, from not Central America, you call it North America, USA, and South America. Among the tangled waterways and giant anacondas of the Brazilian Rio Negro, an enigmatic scientist is developing a drug that could alter the lives of women forever. But her work is shrouded in mystery. When Anders Ekman, basically I'm going to interject here as well, the drug company sends someone down to find out progress from this doctor who's researching a new medicine, because she won't report back. And they send someone down and they get a note back in a couple of months saying that he's died. So his colleague, Marina, her name is, she travels down there. She's sent down there to find out what happened. Really, she makes a promise to his widow in the US and says, you know, okay, I'll find out what happened. So she travels down to try and meet up with this research doctor in the Amazon, and basically travels down there, travels into the rainforest, and it's the story of how that develops. And it's, yeah, it's a cracking book. It really is. It says here, full of big ideas and marvellously peculiar characters. Perhaps that's why I like it. An absorbing novel, intelligent yet magical, that will keep you wondering until the very last page. And actually, it's not just a novel. There's a lot of, it's very current and very credible, I suppose is the word. When they talk about the medicine and the science behind the new discovery that they are researching, it really is very credible, and written very intelligently. And it's, what else can I tell you about it? It's probably it. I was drawn along, and I think that's one of the best things in a book and a novel. And it draws you in and draws you along, and it gets to the point where you look forward to, I mean, with me, I tend to read in bed at night, and so I look forward to going to bed at night so that I can read the next bit of the book. So yeah, I really, really recommend this one to you. I have bought the next one, which actually she did win the Orange Prize for fiction. So I have got Bel Canto, which is her next one, which is a story about, again, set in a Latin American country, about kidnappers storm an international gathering and holding them hostage, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I can't talk to you about that yet, but that will be one of my next books to read. But this one, if you like, it's sort of adventure, it's very realistic, it's interesting, and it's it has a rhythm, it moves you along. So I would highly recommend that one. If anybody's read it, do let us know down below what you thought of it, or if you've read any other Ann Patchett novels that you could recommend. I think the first one that she also won an award for is The Magician's Assistant, but I've only just noticed that in here, so that might be another one that I read. At the moment I'm onto my quirky reading from my to-read list of 2020. I've got a book called A House for Mr Biswas, which was on one of my, do you remember last year I did a lot of research into book lists and recommended books of classics and all that sort of thing. And The House for Mr Biswas was one of those. So I downloaded it onto my Kindle, that particular one, for various reasons, which I won't talk about right now. And I'm reading that, and that is very quirky. But again, enjoying that. I'll talk about that properly another time. But for now, certainly, there you go. Ann Patchett, State of Wonder. This is published by Bloomsbury Press, and I highly recommend it. Okay, that's that book section over. So I can say a goodbye. See if I can get Henry to come and say, you gonna come and say hello and goodbye? Hey, hey. No, not interested. Are you interested? No. There's some more. I haven't got an awful lot of antics to post of the hounds this week, because obviously I've been a little bit focused on the other stuff going on. But I've got a couple of honey mad moments I can put up for you. Henry spends most of it asleep. To be a doggy. Yeah, so that's it. That's me for you this week. I hope you have had a good week. I hope you're managing to, you know, keep positive, keep happy. Things are changing, aren't they? It's difficult to get that balance between not wanting them to change until it's 100% safe, which obviously it'll never be, and wanting to get out there. But I hope you are all crafting and baking and making, spending as much quality time as you can with your spouse and children if you have them, without killing them. Growing plenty. People seem to be growing a lot of food. I'm going to give you an update actually on my little crops. I'm going to have radishes coming out of my ears, I can tell you that much. Not much else though. So yeah, have a lovely week ahead. Have a good weekend. And I always say it's not worth analysing though. I just say it. Be more sheep and keep cheerful.